A familiar start and a new addition to the tour was just announced. Match play resurfaces, a few European national titles were awarded, maybe a new segment, and not too much more this week in disc golf. What's good, disc generates? We're here, and you're watching This Week in Disc Golf, where I cover all things disc golf from the past week. And if you don't know already, I'm Swiss Cheese, the one with all the holes and one part of the disc golf world. The YouTube channel that changed the game by bringing you all the news around the professional side of the game in a fraction of the time of the other guys. We got a quick announcement before we get into the Dgpt one. There's only a handful of remaining merch from our trip over to Peoria. We got $15 wizards, shirts, and a limited number of hats. So if you haven't already, hit up our socials quickly because they're bound to sell out. Now let's dive in, as the Disc Golf Tour made an early announcement, and it's not a logo change like Cracker Barrel, but a new tour stop yet to be seen on screen for the upcoming 2026 season. The season is slated to start once again in Brookfield, Florida for the Supreme Flight Open. That is, with a rumored Creators Challenge tossed in for good measure. And no, that wasn't included in the announcement, and we haven't gotten an invite either. Just what our ears have been told multiple times now through a number of voices. But until that gets announced, you guys can all treat it as speculation. Now, Olympus has shown its teeth while also delivering some of the best finishes in the first 2 years, and appears to be going nowhere soon, as Florida not only makes logistical sense, but might also convince some to travel for the stop also. The Supreme Flight Open's end began the Texas swing, but not in 2026 though, as the Dgpt will be making a stop on its way for the Big Easy Open. That's right guys, the tour will be heading towards the Bayou and the greater New Orleans area in Jefferson Parish. Already having the best name on tour and probably the best food while we're at it. At the very least, I know Matty O will agree. The event will be held at the #1 disc golf course in Louisiana, and also top 100 on UDisc, Parc de Family. The Huck Design course is one of the more unique tracks I've ever encountered. The cypress trees make it memorable and provides a truly unique to Louisiana disc golf experience, but did need the recent updates to be a more pro-ready course. You only had to look last year when touring pros Matty O, Silas Schultz, Linus Carlson, and Mika Groh absolutely shredded the layout, as all of them averaged over double-digit unders per round, in what would statistically perform softer than Preserve had it been on the tour last year. Yet there is plenty of property with the biggest name in the game attached, and with some additional investment from the parish, the new pro layout should fare far better, and honestly enough for the Dgbt to sign on. This latest move by tour leadership does deserve acknowledgement and praise, even if it made the most logical sense to anyone looking at a map. It relieves the travel distance on both pros and employees. Add that it's near a tourist destination should attract some additional fans to make the trip, and hopefully the party also, because that is what needs to be sold here at this stop if you ask my opinion. Because I want the works, beads, plastic cups filled with hurricanes, and a raucous crowd. But its addition also brings some questions surrounding the remaining stops on the schedule for next year. The tour has made efforts to cut down on stops in the past, in large part due to players expressing fatigue. Could this addition event lead to another stop's departure from the tour, or could the tour schedule instead expand next year? Those who say no will love to highlight DGLO's departure from the schedule, with Worlds being held there next year, but would be ignoring the new addition of Kansas City and its success. That it appears to have done enough to earn a spot on next year's schedule. And that might be able to keep DDO off the tour for another year, but there's Jonesboro with a new course addition itching to get back on tour also. And with what we all witnessed in Europe, it shouldn't be a surprise that that leg of the tour expands also. Either way, things are looking promising for the tour. We have seen new sponsors, upgrades, midweek showcases, now a new tour stop, and even further exciting rumors that still need time to be confirmed. Or we're just playing nice. You guys pick. And since I mentioned midweek showcases, this week also saw another match play installment. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. The only real reason I'm bringing up match play is Gannon's ace on 11. The nearest Texas Roadhouse better have enough honey butter, because that shot made him $500 richer. All because of this guy right here.
So I just threw out a $500 bounty for an ace run, and #1 player in the world, Gannon Burr, just hit it. Let's go.
It's really refreshing to know that Ben is eating good on the road. And I'm just here for when they finally get to Twin Peaks. At least I can hope. Sure, match play has player ribbing that everyone enjoys. Who doesn't like I Love Cock shirts or Humphreys pulling out the stopwatch and flag in this week's matchup? But the event itself, at least for this viewer, is more about the disc golf on the screen than the implications of the results. And by that, I mean I tune in to watch a few of the best throw some frizz. And shots like Gannon's. I'm not hanging on every toss, holes won or lost, or who's likely to advance to the championship for that matter. Yes, I'll still try to sell it to you guys, and I'll even set the stage for the final week, where everyone is playing. Well, maybe not. Kristen is expected to be missing as she still recovers. But don't worry, she'll still advance from her group even with the forfeit, and you got 3 weeks to forget about all of this, and then remember it again before it starts. But who are we kidding? Or when you get that notification alert that tells you that it started.
We actually found out yesterday that I have a match play event against Joey Buckets.
The match play is entertaining and with some tweaks could definitely be better. And if you're listening, just make it shorter. Now let's cover some of the action. The matchup of the day was Calvin Heimberg versus Isaac Robinson. And on this track, an even battle. Vinny took down the first hole, but Isaac gained control quickly after the next two. Used his C2 putting to take down holes and went into the back half up 4-2. Vinny came back on the back, taking advantage of Isaac going OB on 17 to tie the match and half the round. Joey Buckets just might need to do more shotguns because he looked more comfortable out there than he has for some time. Was in control for most of the day and stacked birdies for a more comfortable than it looks 4-3 win over Simon, creating the tightest group stage in both the FPO and MPO going into the final week in Green Mountain. Joey currently leads the group stage by a single point, but will come down to the final week, where the matchups are must win for every competitor, just see who advances. Simon's currently in second in the group, will take on Isaac while Joey battles Heimberg. Gannon Bird didn't really need the ace, though it made for great television as he rolled over Luke Humphreys 8-3. The win has placed Gannon in the driver's seat to win the group stage as he will advance to the next round. AB completely swept Chris Dickerson, birdieing 10 of the 13 holes they played, resulting in a 6-0 victory in an early day. And though things aren't set in stone and there's plenty to play for, at this point it does look like Burr and AB will move on. That's unless Dickerson beats Gannon come Vermont and Humphreys upsets AB also in order for him to move to the championship. For the other two remaining groups that didn't play at Idlewild, in Group B, Matteo is sitting pretty while Paul McBeth is out of the running, leaving Ezra Aderhold and Ricky Wysocki's head-to-head final week matchup to see who moves on to the championship. In Group C, Adam Hammis is going to not only need a victory against group leader Nicholas Antala, as he is already set to proceed to the next level, but Adam also needs a James Proctor upset over Ezra Robinson on the final day to move ahead. In the FPO, Rebecca Cox, enjoying some hometown cooking, looked at home on the Idlewild track, birdied the first two holes for an early 2-0 lead, and though Madison Walker was able to chip away that lead, still had no answer for Cox's back half, where she birdied 6 of the final 8 holes played, winning 5-2. And after Paige Pierce handed Missy the group stage victory because of a forfeit due to a hole in the ceiling and some mold, not a joke there, by the way, still has her battling Rebecca for second in the group stage. Kat Merch took advantage of the early struggles of Eliezra Midling as she scored 4 points after Eliezra's bogeys on the first 6 holes. Midling was able to scratch out a couple of holes, but after a birdie on 15, the round would finish early. Katrina Allen took an early lead over Owen Scoggins after a birdie on hole 1, and it stayed that way until hole 7, as Owen went on a long par stretch. From hole 7 on, she would go on to birdie 7 of the final 8 holes, adding 2 more impressive C2 makes, 1 from distance, including the most impactful one on 11, where she went on to hit a 65-footer, preventing Allen from taking the lead as she sat just outside the bullseye. Owen would take down the matchup 5-2 and has already won her group stage and will advance, leaving another head-to-head matchup, this one with a battle of cats, already better than the movie even if it's 3 weeks away. But Merch and Allen will go head-to-head in the final week to see who earns their ticket to North Carolina. I already told you Kristen Lott will advance even with a forfeit at Green Mountain, as she took down her first 2 matchups, leaving Silva Sarnen and Kona Montgomery to see who progresses ahead. In the final group stage, Ella Hansen already punched her ticket with victories at Kansas City and Krokol, while Holland Hanley has control, needing only to take down Deanne Carey in the final matchup to advance herself. Alright guys, I'm done talking about match play till Green Mountain. So let's move on to some European results and ultimately our need to become more global at the disc golf world. We try our best to highlight aspects of the game across the globe, but admittedly plenty falls through the cracks. And witnessing firsthand fans of the sport and our channel for that matter outside the US, we just need to do a better job. But we also need some help. I want to try out a new segment, similar to Quick Hitters, but sticking towards the international side, as we hit more news from around the globe. Apart from keeping us accountable on pronunciation, which trust me, I welcome, start sharing like Disc Golf Fanatic and send us news, updates, players to watch, disc release, courses, YouTube personalities. Nothing's too big or too small. And maybe it'll be highlighted on an episode of Twig. We got our socials listed and a website also, which has some articles and maybe some upcoming merch released there in the future. Don't worry guys, we're only partially getting our shit together, but really, we gotta just make some moves. Back to some coverage of nationals, as there were 3 recent results. Finland's nationals might have had the biggest names, but it was Daniel Davidson who took down the event by shooting the hot round for each of the final 3 days of the event, winning by 6 strokes over Nicolas Antala, and Lori Lightnin, who took 3rd for the 3rd consecutive year in a row now. In the FPO, Silva Saarinen came back from 3 strokes down against Evelina Salonen in the final round to win her first Finnish national championship. Young Finnish talent and world's breakout, Ida Lehtomäki, finished on the podium in 3rd ahead of Henna Blomroos. Another young European talent in the FPO, Julia Fors, won comfortably by 15 stroke at the Swedish Championship. And in the MPO, Gustav Dahlen shot the hot round 13 under on day 1 and carried that to a victory over Dennis Augustin. And last but not least was the Danish Championship, where the favorite and top talent out of Denmark, Hjalti Jensen, shot the hot round of the weekend and won comfortably by 6 strokes. The highest rated FPO player in Denmark, Cassandra Fogg Reichman, would end up winning by 9 strokes in the FPO. Guys, that wraps up this week in disc golf. Shout out to those on the Patreon and all of you guys who stayed this long for me to thank you. And like always, if you've enjoyed and not subscribed, make sure to do so. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, comment, and share.